Of that with Dr. Bharat Pankhania, who's an expert in communicable diseases at the University of Exeter. Very good to have you with us again. Does what Nick Stripe from the ONS has just been saying, does that back up what you have suspected, believed in relation to COVID-19 deaths and ethnic background?
Yes, and thank you for inviting me. This is really good work by the Office for National Statistics, and we are very grateful to them for doing this so quickly. Now that this great big red flag has been raised, that the ethnic minorities, Black, Asian, minority, ethnic people have got an added risk. We must do something about it immediately. I appreciate by the time you have cleaned up the data for location, geography and other things, the risk came down quite a bit. Nevertheless, we've identified that they are at added risk. We've got to do something about it. In other words,
can I come to what we do about it in just a second, Doctor, but can you firm up to any degree what Mr. Stripe was suggesting might be the reasons for this differential between people of white ethnicity and people from other ethnic backgrounds? Is it to do with a predisposition to have certain health conditions? Is it to do with type of employment? What do you think is the reason?
I think it is a combination of all of them, without a doubt. So there is geography, meaning if you live in a deprived place, you are less likely to be able to sit at home and do your work by Zoom. Whereas, you'd have to be a taxi driver, a bus driver, train driver, work in a crowded place, more chance of getting infected. And then on top of that, the Asians and others do carry an added risk, which is diabetes, blood pressure, heart disease. So all those things put together, we identify they are probably at a slightly extra risk.
So let's come back then to that very important point that you were just moving on to. What do you think should be done about this? What measures can be introduced to try to get rid of this differential so that people from these ethnic backgrounds have as much of a chance of actually fighting this disease as someone of white ethnicity?
So we've got to, now that we know, we can say, look, we need to reduce your face-to-face consultations. Where face-to-face consultations are absolutely necessary, we are going to give you enhanced personal protective equipment to protect yourselves. And then we're also going to do more work on finding out, is it the diabetes, is it the heart disease, is it something else? But in the first instance, we must pull them out of frontline and deploy them with telephone consultations or extra PPE.
What would you expect the government to do about this, and what would you expect them to do practically and quickly, presumably?
Yes, indeed. So now that this information is available and it is clearly indicating that there is an extra risk, we've got to act immediately, meaning like today, and say, look, we've identified a subgroup, and that subgroup would also include European white people who fall into that category of added risk because they've got underlying health conditions. Pull them out of frontline, stop them seeing excessive number of face-to-face consultations, and give them maybe added PPE, additional PPE measures, personal protective equipment.
OK, Dr. Bharat Pankhania, thank you very much for your time this morning, an expert in communicable diseases at the University of Exeter. Thank you.
Thank you.
The headlines for you.